was different.
Yeah. Cool. And around about this time as well, where Hulk Hogan came into the mix, did you have many dealings with him, or what was it like backstage?
I mean, look, Hulk is he's a different breed. You know, he's a different level of human being. It's like I'd become good friends with Kevin Nash. Nash was really, I would say, for me, the first like really major star who I sort of developed a sort of what I would call a relationship with, like beyond just a sort of acquaintance, right?
Yeah.
And Kev would just, Kev would sit with me, and I would try to keep up with him, drink for drink, and like he, we just would just give me great advice. We would just sit there and just pontificate on the business, and he would just. He's a guy who I credit a lot of that to as well, because he would always remind me of like what a good spot I was in. He's like, hey, you're like tag team division's red hot, and you guys are the only heels. Like you guys are going to be working. And he'd sort of remind you of all this stuff, because when you're a kid, you're a bit like, oh, I don't want to lose, or I want to look strong, and blah blah. And Kev would be like, oh man, this is the business, So, but Kev obviously had very storied history and relationship with Hulk. So when it was announced that they were coming in, I never forget, Kevin said to me, because I forget how it came up, but we were talking about how like Hogan and Austin were the two kind of biggest babyface, stars of all time, and obviously Rock has transcended the business at this point. But like, as far as like within wrestling, Hogan and Austin were, the two kind of just ultimate stars of all time. And Kevin said, here's the difference. He goes, I've walked through the airport with Hulk, and I've walked through with Steve Austin. And Kevin said, walking through the airport with Hulk is like walking through the airport with Mickey Mouse. Like everybody, not just like most people. He's like every single person goes, that's Hulk Hogan. Like he's a cartoon character come to life. And I remember just being so kind of nervous, and I was probably awkward, and he's probably used to dealing with that all the time, as people kind of, oh, hey, but our interactions were fairly limited at first. I was sort of a blip on the radar, at that point. But I remember he found out I lived in Clearwater, which is where he lives. So, right. Hey brother, you live in Clearwater? Oh, that's so great. I love Clearwater. And he was kind of like, I think he liked that about me, that like, hey, this British kid moved to Clearwater, so that was like a nice little icebreaker. But as far as like sort of nuggets or kind of pearls of wisdom and stuff, I didn't get a lot of that from Hulk until 2013. When I was sort of being positioned for a bit of a shove. And then I remember when I had been off TV for a while, and I made my comeback in Manchester, and the reaction was great. Manchester has always been a good town for me.
Yeah,
and I remember coming back, and Hulk like looking at me and just kind of giving this kind of okay kind of nod, and then I saw him later on, and he said, "Brother, I think you may have got a bigger pop than me." And I just, obviously being kind and everything like that, but it was like, you got a bigger pop than me, and I was just like, wow, like at that point, it was kind of, that's such a confidence booster for anyone in the business, any level, to sort of get that sort of acknowledgement. It was just kind of, and that's the power of somebody like Hulk, he has that ability to just say one 5-second interaction can just make you just feel like you're like on your way to do something. So very limited, but just amazing to be able to be around him and soak up some of that energy.
Yeah, and you